following board members, Mr. Santos, district staff that are present here, and extended UIZ family. Time is 12:03 p.m. on this, the 28th day of July 2020, and I call this meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. If I can have everybody, all the board members, please state their full name.
Ricardo Rico Rodriguez, present.
Roberto Ramirez, present.
Ricardo Molina Sr., present.
Alisa Oliveros, present.
Javier present.
Javier Montemayor, present.
And myself, Ramiro Vélez, present. Board is present. Let the record show that quorum of board members is present, that the meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. We'll move agenda item 3, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Item 4. During 2020-2021 budget workshop.
Hi, Mr. Vélez. Good afternoon. Members of the board, hello. Hope everybody's doing well. Members of the audience, welcome to our meeting. We're bringing to you a PowerPoint. I'm just going to ask the staff to get to the PowerPoint that the board members can see. Next slide. So here you'll see the requirements. They haven't changed. We're going to send you a copy of a draft budget probably this Friday or the following Friday. The budget has to be prepared by August 20th and adopted by 31st. And there's 3 funds that we need to present to the board for approval. General operating, debt service, and food service. And we adopt it at a fund and function level. And then we also bring the board a tax rate proposal as well. Next slide. So in the general fund, which is our bigger operating fund, we did receive our certified values from the Webb County Appraisal District. There were over $16,774,000. Overall, our net property values have decreased by over 11%, and most of this is coming from the decline category, or 39% of that category. And everybody knows that the industry is suffering right now with lower oil prices and lower production and gas prices being depressed as well. To reduce our M&O tax rate, because it is going to be required by House Bill 3 to reduce our tax rate to what they're calling is the state's compressed rate. And at this point, that rate is 91.91664 cents. But we also are given the opportunity to recommend 5 what they call golden pennies to bring that total tax rate to 0.9664. But overall, the M&O tax rate will go from 97 cents to 96 cents. And later on, I will show you how the total tax rate is going to remain the same. The state revenue, we've been waiting all summer long to see how TEA is going to fund our student attendance in a remote learning environment. Go back to the screen. You'll see there that what they've established is a floor, meaning that if we have the first 6 weeks of our attendance is lower than the 3-year average from 17-18 through 19-20, that's the floor. They won't let us have attendance lower than that. And then they have a ceiling because they recognize that it might be easier for I know Ms. Rendon and Mr. Gonzalez will be presenting the remote learning environment that we're going to be in. So as far as we know right now, we know what our ceiling is and we know what our floor is. So this budget will be based on kind of like an average of the two. And we'll be verifying with our team's records on how close we are to getting to our proposed attendance rate that we're presenting. So in total, our budgeted expenditures are going to be at $401,671,000. Last year, we adopted a budget that had $406,464,112, which is a decrease of almost $5 million. And just to explain, we did cut some of the campus and department budgets by 10%. We just gave the campuses their allocations based on their enrollment, and we asked them, y'all, that submitted to us had a 10% reduction in their budgets. Same thing for campuses. And then our payroll costs, one of the big things that we're hanging on to that is vacancies. And I know Mr. Santos has been talking about holding on some positions that we may not need right now in a remote learning environment. So we've kind of incorporated maybe about $3 million of vacancies into this budget. But we do plan to bring a proposed balanced budget for the general fund. So the next slide is our debt service fund. Go back down. Slide 5. Okay, so our debt service fund is where we pay our debt. And I think you all will recall in our November 2013 bond election where the voters approved $408 million. We told the voters back then that we thought that the tax rate would increase by about almost 13 cents. Y'all know that all the bonds have already been issued. We issued the last tranche last summer. And that we've been doing some refinancing also because the market rates have been low. So really, we're just seeing that based on the tax rate that we're going to recommend, we still will only be about 7 cents over what we told, under what we told the community back then that we would go up to 13 cents. In reality, our tax rate would have just increased by 7 cents. So the tax rate that we're going to just to go up there. It's a slight increase of about 0.0036 cents. But combined with the MNO tax rate, you'll see later on that it is a total tax rate that's going to be the same as last year. And our debt payment is now going to be $41.7 million. We are proposing also to reduce our fund balance. We actually have about $7 million in that fund balance. And we want to save taxpayers about $2 million by taking it from our fund balance. And we'll still comply with our fund balance policy. So as we're going to present the final budget to you, we'll present those final numbers to you as well. Next slide, slide 6. Now, the other fund that you need to adopt also is a food service fund. And we're projecting a revenue and expenses of $28.6 million. And I'd like to let the board know that we are going to continue our community eligibility provision program where all students eat for free. We'll be distributing breakfast and lunch. And we are in the process right now of establishing sites, or we're going to have it at every campus. Are we going to deliver meals through bus routes? I know that you're aware that this summer we did have about 9 routes going out to the colonias delivering meals for the summer food program. So anyway, we're going to be working with staff to establish how can we maximize food distribution to our students during the school year. And then again, we propose to bring a balanced budget for 2021 for the food service account. Next slide. So in August, what we plan to do is publish a 10-day notice in the Laredo Morning Times on August 8th. We're going to propose the same tax rate of $1.1988. Based on our calculations, we're within what they're calling the voter approval rollback tax rate. We plan to hold a public hearing on August 18th, and that's what the notice will talk about that hearing. They'll be held here at 201 Lindenwood in the boardroom, and then we would present a proposed budget for adoption and a proposed tax rate during the regular board meeting on August 18th. And really, that's it for my presentation. Again, we're going to be sending the board some additional information before we get to the August 18th date. So you're very much aware of what's in, all the numbers in our budget, especially at the fund and function level.
We appreciate all the hard work that you and your staff, I know it takes a lot, and I was actually anticipating that the TA was gonna be able to afford us more leeway, more time, but it seems that they have not done so, but nevertheless, I think we are gonna be ready. Thank your staff.
I believe so.
We'll definitely present the information, and we'll, this is just an information item, we'll
Yes.
coordinate on
Yes,
August.
and we will bring an action item in August. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll want to be federal and state programs grant updates.
Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Betty. Rebecca Morales from Federal and State Programs. Good afternoon to all our board members and our audience members. We're also bringing forth an informational item today to advise you of some grant updates to TEA that we have submitted on the school district's behalf or in the process of submitting. First of all, we did submit an instructional continuity grant for Clark Middle School, which they used to provide internet connectivity to their students over the summer and towards the end of the school year during our school closures. We did also submit already to TEA or ESSA, our yearly ESSA consolidated grant, which consists of our Title I, our Title I Part C, Title I D2, Title II, Title III, and Title IV grants. That has already been submitted as well, and we are in the process of submitting our ESSER grant application, which was one of the fund sources out of the CARES Act, and that will be submitted. We're in the process of working on that application, and that will be submitted on behalf of the school district by August. The deadline is August to submit to TEA.
Do they give us an amount, or is it we submit and they will?
They do give us an amount. They do give us an amount, but we have to consider what the expenses will be, what we're planning on using the allocations for. However, we do have to take into consideration that out of the allocated money that we received from ESSER, the state did cut 95% of our state aid,
Right.
which this money is actually supposed to be replacing that. The majority of it, 95% of it, actually.
Ms. Morales, what does ESSER stand for?
It's the same as ESSA, so it's elementary, secondary schools, but the ER stands for emergency relief.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No other questions, no, appreciate the information.
Thank you all so much.
Item C, return to school protocols for remote and in-school instruction platforms.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Betty's, board members who are online and members of the audience. We bring before you a draft return to school protocol guide. It is a rather lengthy guide. We started this maybe about a month ago. It was about 20 pages, and now we're up to 63 pages. I am not going to go over it in detail, but I will send you the link so that you can review. Basically, what we're asking for is that the state is saying that the Board of Trustees may request a TA a second 4-week transition window, which we have already put this on in our guide and our manual, and that this manual would have to be approved by our local health authority, which is Laredo Health Authority, and Dr. Trevino. As part of the order that was issued previously, they will review and approve the plan for whether we do, when we come back to school on campus for that particular instruction.
Right. This would satisfy the requirement that
It
we
should,
put
sir.
out. Right.
It's lengthy,
Right.
but just so that you will be aware, and everybody, we have put both the remote processes here. We have put, it's kind of broken down where we address both the remote instruction and the back to school face-to-face instruction as well.
I think, Ramiro, this is much more than what I've seen at other school districts. It's much more detailed, lengthier, and I think, it kind of goes over beyond, I think, what I've seen in other school districts. It's a great job by Gloria, Mr. Santos on this.
All right, I took a look at some of the information, and it pretty much covers most of the scenarios that can be presented to us at one point or another. So obviously, would this be a document that's adaptable, right? That you would probably be
Modifying, sir, as we
go.
go. Yes, sir, absolutely. But I would like to point out a few of the areas for your review. The table of contents basically covers our health protocols, our school day operations, our instructional protocols, and then it talks a little bit about the response, how we respond to COVID cases, forming your teams on your campus level, and then your resources. And then we put lots of information on the appendix as well. And we also established an FAQ. But I would like to take you to page 5, first of all, so that you can kind of see the resources timeline. And that you can be aware, because I know that some parents and community members and teachers are asking about our timeline. So when we look at this, you look at the elementary, middle, and high school, and Mr. Gonzalez is here to interject. You look at August the 5th, we're starting the instructional packets because as mentioned to you previously, not all our devices will arrive on time. So some of the asynchronous instruction will be provided through the instructional packet component. So elementary is already working on it August 5th. They're doing for the 6 weeks. We may look at that probably for the 8 weeks, since we're gonna go for the 8-week instructional period, the time frame. August 13th, 14th, they will deliver everything, and then on the 18th to the 21st, they will start delivering those instructional packets and mobile devices. And then we're starting from the high school, so we're actually starting backwards from high schools and middle schools and then elementary, and whatever's left over at the elementary level, we will distribute. We have already determined there that attendance taking, whether it's remote or online, in-person instruction, is always going to be at 10 a.m., which is about your second block period, which hasn't really changed. And then the direct teach and the live teach, you have at the elementary level is Monday through Friday, each content area, and there's a schedule. And then the direct teach is live instruction, Monday through Friday, all teachers. And the first 35 minutes of each class will provide a direct teach. Teachers can't stay online for questions, answers that the students may have, but for the first 35 minutes, it is going to be a live direct teach to all middle school students. And at the high school level, you're looking at the first 40 minutes of each class, right? Middle school students have 7 classes, high school students have 5 classes. And then you have the walkthroughs where administrators will be assigned to assist, to assign to certain particular grade levels or teachers or content areas. And they will do at least 8 to 10 virtual walkthroughs per day, administrator at each campus. And that assures that the teachers are on task, the students are on task, and that there is a direct teach to our students. Because remember, it is asynchronous learning model that we have.
Correct.
The second component covers all of the health protocols, which deals with how we screen our employees, how we screen our students, daily screening, temperature checks. Face masks will be required by everyone who walks into our schools, whether it be students, visitors, anybody who comes on in. We define what type of face mask we are looking for. The next section, you look at actual school day operations. Should we ever return to a school setting? You have your enhanced cleaning, how we transition from class to class, visitors to campuses. Everything will be done by appointments. We're saying that there's no food deliveries to anybody, right? Whether it be students or employees. It doesn't say that the employee cannot go out and get their food, but no delivery individuals will come on in. We address the counseling components. We look at library services, where the librarians will have lessons with the students, but the libraries in themselves will be closed. Should they open for checkout for student books that they may utilize them, then we will leave those books sitting for a while until a certain number of days have passed. So then you look at, I'm going to take you to your instructional protocols on page 20. And I think this is probably the information that we would like to share with you as far as a daily schedule for our students. And so when you look on page 30, sorry, Mike, I've got all over. We have posted the grading guidelines as well on here, so that the parents and our teachers know what is expected of them. And on page 30, you see the general schedule of our students. So this is a pre-kinder. The grids, the lines, the diagonal lines, those are actual live sessions where a teacher will be live with a particular student, and the white dots are on recorded, independent, asynchronous instruction where they're doing independent work on their own. So you'll see this particular schedule. A student at the elementary schedule, pre-kinder, starts at 7:30 in the morning. They have PE, music, library, counselor, teacher planning. That is a teacher's planning, but somebody else will be instructing those particular students, PE, music, or so forth. You look at the following schedule. We have pre-kinder, school day, the Head Start program, the half-day program. Then you have your kindergarten classes, and you'll see that our students are on at 7:30 till 2:50 p.m. All right, so that is a daily schedule for a student, and everything shifts and everything changes with regards to depending on the grade level. The following page, you'll see 1st through 5th grade at the elementary. Again, 7:30, the students are expected. They're doing, in 1st grade, they're doing the independent reading, 2nd grade as well. But you'll see the schedule that they go all the way to 2:50, at least 2:15 with the teacher, 2:50 is independent work that they would do. We did put in there tutorials, virtual tutorials. That is, of course, that's extra for those extra duty pay for our teachers and for our students who are designated to do tutorials. All right, so those will be on a smaller group scale as well. And so you'll see the schedules for 3rd through 5th grade. On the following page, on 32, you have the middle school schedules. And again, you'll see that the students' first block starts at 8:15. Dear time is drop everything and read, so they're doing independent reading. 8:15, a middle school student schedule, school day begins, and they go on till 3:31. And as I mentioned previously, the first 35 minutes of each class period, the teacher is going to be live with the students. All right, so you'll see the 7th block, the 7th grade, and the 8th grade as well. You'll see the teacher's daily work schedules from 7:45 to 4 p.m. All right, at the bottom, and then your extended day tutorials. The final schedule that you'll see is your the 9th grade campus and your high school bell schedule. So again, you look at your first block, all students at the high school level start at 8:30, and they end their day at 4:05, which is the end of the 5th block. As I previously mentioned on page 5, the first 40 minutes of every high school class, the teachers will be live, will be expected to be live with the students, providing that direct teach to the students. Right? Any questions? And then you have your regular high school, your 10th, 11th, and 12th grade block schedule, which is a little different, about 10 minutes difference from your 9th grade campus. The following parts of the manual talk about how we respond to COVID cases, and this is something that we've been complying with, working with Juan Cruz's office for guidance as to when we have a positive confirmed. We've gotten a really, really good handle on the situations that we have had, and we're notifying the employees who had direct contact, prolonged contact with the individuals. So I think everything is on here. We put our calendar. At the very end, you have an FAQ that you can kind of see related to anything from transportation to food service to attendance taking, and all the expectations are set forth for our not only our employees but also our parents.
Mr. Dunn, I've got just a few questions, or just actually a couple of questions. So at each individual campus and facility, will you be advising the public and the employees what the requirements are for them when they enter, when they're in their classroom, to protect themselves and the others from getting COVID? One. Number two, when you're addressing the symptoms, is everybody going to be pretty uniform in addressing the symptoms? It's going to be campus by campus. Is there a hotline that anybody can call, either a parent or an employee or an administrator can call to address a situation? For example, a bus driver, who I don't know, maybe takes a temperature check and it comes out over the limit. Can he exclude that child from getting on the bus at 6:30 in the morning if they're coming from a rural area? Those are some of the addressing those. Is that already in play with this?
The manual does call for that. I guess going back to the first question, we have been communicating with our employees. Tomorrow we actually meet with our principals. We'll be reviewing excerpts of the guide with them so that everybody can be uniform. We would like to see it consistently put in place, and everybody is following the protocols that we have consistently across the district. That's number one. Number two, it does address specifically student walkers, student bus riders, student kids who drive their own vehicles, as to when and where we would do the temperature checks. As for the bus drivers, what we're looking and in meeting, this is the best scenario that we have, is that the parents who would utilize transportation services would have to wait for that bus for that child in that particular event. And that's the best case scenario. That before they board that bus, that we've got it clear for a temperature check. Whether it be the bus monitor or the bus driver who would actually do that. So we will be asking the parents to have to wait there because they will not be able to board that particular bus if they are exhibiting any type of symptom. Right now, I would like to share with you, we have a 62% completion rate of our survey, all right? And it has not varied as the percentages go up, and we're making phone calls to make sure that the parents decide whether they want face-to-face or on-campus instruction. And so right now we have about 3,300 students who are saying, the parents are saying, we want face-to-face instruction.
That's out of how many, what's the number that you have so far?
3,300 students who want face-to-face, sir, out of the
26,000.
out of 26,000.
Okay.
If you're looking at 3,000 at a high school, I think the number, if I recall correctly, you're looking at about 350 students at one United High School, which is probably the largest.
And so that's pretty much that's over 80% of the student body that we have. That I think that's a pretty good representative sample that you have already. I mean, I don't think it's going to vary. It's kind of like early voting. You know, this is what you got. It's pretty much going to be the same thing on voting day. But I don't think you're going to get a huge swing of kids that want to go back to school. But the only thing I want to add, Mr. Rendon, on your schedules, I did talk to Mr. Gonzalez, and Ms. Rodriguez called me earlier. I wasn't able to talk to her, but I think those schedules are pretty ambitious, and I think they're aggressive. I don't have any issue when 80% of your parents want virtual. It's there. My only issue is how are we going to address the attendance rate, which I think is going to be key to qualify for funding. And as we know, the funding is imperative because that's how we pay our salaries and our expenses at the district. And without that, we'd be looking at reductions in force and terminations and so forth. But how are we going to address the attendance? I think is key. If some kids log on at 7:15 and then they don't log on until the next day, or are they going to be counted out and things like that?
We do have a plan, sir, and actually, let me kind of just review. We have support staff at the campus level, and so we have anywhere from teacher aides to counselors to library assistants to secretaries to clerks and so forth, clerical staff. So what we're asking, and this will be shared with our principals tomorrow, every individual, depending of course on the number of staff available and the number of teachers on a campus, we will assign those particular individuals to work with a particular teacher. So you'll have maybe one individual, say I'm a teacher aide, I will be working maybe with 6 or 7 teachers, right? And so at 10 o'clock, I'm gonna see who was on, who was not on, all right? And then I'm gonna follow up as to, I will have access to your classes. But the state allows you that anytime if a student comes on and views a lesson, submits something through the asynchronous model, that up until midnight, you can still count that child present, so long as they did some type of work. And that's where our key paraprofessional staff is going to be crucial, even our attendance officers, in assuring that our students are actually doing something, engaged in instruction for that particular day. So that is our plan, so that we can ensure that our students are meeting the attendance requirements and that we do get funded for them as well.
We need to get the time where the most optimal presence of our students is there. And my last question is just, if a teacher doing virtual education, whether it be elementary, middle, or high school, if they say, look, I want to go back to my campus and I want to work from my classroom, even though it's empty, I want to be there and that's where I want to teach from. Are they allowed to do that? Do they have to sign an election?
They are allowed to do that. Anyone who wants to work out of their classroom will be allowed to work out of their classroom, whether it be to use their equipment, just to use a lab setting, to use a telephone. The classrooms will be open. Our administrators will be on campus. Our paraprofessional staff will be on campus. Of course, working, practicing your social distancing measures and everything else. but they will be on campus to facilitate anybody who is on campus.
Rendon, are you gonna utilize the teams, all the specialty, every high school or whatever they have, the teams, you're gonna put them to in the schools, or what are you with them?
Yes, sir. The coordinators from the schools, yes, everybody has been assigned to different campuses, sir, and we are working on that as well. We are repurposing, as mentioned before, the word that we use to make sure that everybody, they may not be doing the same job that they've been accustomed to doing, but they will be doing other jobs to assist the instructional content.
Because this is gonna be a team concept, you know, all the teams that we have, we wanna utilize everybody to the fullest.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. If there's no further information. D, I'm sorry, GT assessment adjustment, school year 2020-2021.
Good afternoon, members of the board, members of the audience. Ms. Reina, going back to your question, I can assure you from our department, all our executive directors, including myself, our coordinators, or BIPANEO coordinators, campus coordinators, GT coordinators, all of us will be involved in making sure, doing virtual walkthroughs along with the administrators. And our main focus is to help our teachers deliver the instruction daily to our students. The support will be there. This afternoon, there's two items to go over. They're both informational items. The first one is with our GT department, preparing for the Gifted and Talented Program Referral and Assessment for this school year. We want to provide our students an opportunity for assessment in a distant learning environment and make it all distant learning environment as far as testing for assessment. So this afternoon, I've come to suspend. Inform you, we're going to suspend pre-screening for the Good Enough Harris Drawing Test for kindergarten students, and to suspend Minority Nonverbal Ability Test, the NAT, as forthcoming. So we bring in our presentation. On the first slide, next slide. What this is, our assessments are utilized in the GT identification process noted in BYC local plan for GT pre-screening tool. The Good Enough Harris Drawing Test is offered to all kindergarten students for potential referral for GT testing. This is done through paper pencil. The NNAT, Navigating Nonverbal Ability Test, is done through paper pencil. So we're going, the next slide. The adjustments that we're going to be doing this year, we're going to suspend the Good Enough Harris Drawing Test for this school year and suspend the NNAT school year as well. Council will administer the COGAT online to students or refer to GT testing, and add an achievement component for kindergarten students by assigning value points as noted there. These three components are required for compliance with our state plan for GT. Next slide. So we will be in compliance with the plan and policy. This adjustment will not impede any compliance with the Texas state plan for education of gifted and talented students. Our assessment process will continue to include both objective to COGAT and subjective parent and teacher jot down measures. So there is no changes to policy as needed. There will be changes that will affect only our local plan for GT.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Yes, Mr. I heard from a lot of parents that in elementary, mostly in elementary, the teaching that they did in the summer was not very effective. It was, very simple stuff. They didn't think they were wasting their time. So I was wondering if you could check, or whoever's in charge to check what they're teaching, because they said it wasn't very helpful for the kids. I didn't see it, but that's what I heard. So I'm just bringing it to administration.
Like yourself, we do get feedback from our parents as well and our stakeholders. I can tell you that the instructional components that we have that were set out in the spring are different than we did this summer school. And this summer school was all online. So we continue to make adjustments. And like any project, is it perfect? Absolutely not. But we always foresee what objectives we need to adjust and modify to make it comparable for our students. But I do remind board members and the audience that the state will continue to hold us accountable for STAR and debt bus and so forth. The other thing that came out that paper by the governor yesterday, they are suspending the requirement for 5th and 8th grade reading and mathematics. That assessment was required for promotion and they're gonna suspend that this year, but the accountability part of it continues. But you're right, Mr. Molina.
The walkthroughs.
But I can assure you with our walkthroughs by our administrative staff at the campus level and with curriculum and instruction, that's ready to ensure, again, we assist our teachers, whatever endeavors they need with their educational plan, as well as making sure that instruction has the rigor component to meet the needs of our state requirements.
Thank you.
Sir, on that suspension of the STAR testing, that's 5th through 8th or 5th and 8th?
5th and 8th grade math and reading. They're going to be required to take the test, but they're not going to be required to pass it for promotion purposes. That's the only difference.
Okay.
Thank you. Item E, 2019-2020, Delpas and Delpas alternative results.
Yes, at this time, we bring you very good results for the Delpas assessments. Although this year the state did suspend the STAR testing results and Delpas, we do have the data here, and we did it. Maria Ruiz, the director, did break it down by feeder pattern. This first feeder pattern is United High School feeder pattern, and if you look at the growth on the far right, how much we grow from one year to the next. We look at United High School has a growth of 1%. We look at Trauma and Middle, 16% growth. Finley, 11% growth. We look at Charles Borchers with 27% growth. Although in Charles Borchers there was 2 campuses not finished testing every single child, they were still within the Delpas window for testing. I believe it was fifth grade is not finished, but the data still shows phenomenal growth by Charles Borchers, 27%. We look at the next slide. This is the United South sector. We look at really big growth at United South High School at 14%. We look at Gonzalez Middle, 26% growth. Perales, 32% growth. Do we have pockets? We see the red. We have pockets of opportunities for growth. Absolutely. So we're going to continue to see how much more we can adjust and assist our campuses. And the next slide, we do have Alexander. I'd like to point out, we look at the history of our data with Delpas. Normally the growth is at the lower levels, but now we're seeing a lot of growth in the secondary levels. I'd like to point out Alexander with a 23% growth in 1 year in Delpas. I know Sandoval, as administrative staff, did something a little bit different, more than ever. They're pulling out students and conferencing with them, making sure that they view the value of this test and how important it was. We look at Colonel Santos Benavides, also 18% growth. Finally, we have Lyndon B. Johnson High School, and I've shared a lot of growth. Obviously, OBJ, 12% growth. We have Franklin Roseville, 11%. Juarez Lincoln, 20%. We look at Lamar Bruni, our middle school, 26% growth. Los Obispos, 14. I don't think I've ever seen this one. Salvador Garcia and Mr. Molina, that's one of your campuses. They had a 41% growth in 1 year. Phenomenal growth.
Right.
Finally, the next slide. We look at overall comparison to the region and the state. We look at the bottom, the yearly progress. We look at the state yearly progress. They've grown 12%. The region at 20%. We've grown at 24% when it comes to beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So I'd like to commend first and foremost our teachers at UISD, obviously our administrators, and obviously our department as well. Department under Arambula Ruiz. Any questions on this? This is very good news for UISD. Although this assessment does not count, we do have the data and the results, which shows phenomenal growth by our campuses.
Well, we echo the sentiments. We appreciate the hard work of the teachers and all the staff. You mentioned, even though it does not count, it does show proof that the work that they're putting in is absolutely giving results. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For this information. Agenda item 6, items for individual consideration. Item 6A, approval of first and final reading of policy BE local board meetings.
We're just basically changing the meetings to what we're doing right now. Mr. Release and members of the board to basically do it on the third Tuesday at lunchtime and via this platform. And until we get out of this pandemic and things change, then we'll change it back. But I think that this kind of become the new norm for us. Right. So just the recommendations to approve the BE local as presented.
We have a, motion, regarding recommendation.
So move.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. At this time, we respectfully request everyone to remain on hold as the board adjourns into closed session for agenda item number 7. Agenda item 7, closed session. The time is now 1:43 p.m. and the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 551.071.
12:43.
I'm sorry, 12:43. 1:43 is correction of time. Pursuant to section 551.071 and 551.074, the Texas Government Code to discuss agenda item 7A. We'll be back shortly.
Ready? We're live.
All right. Welcome back. Agenda item 8, reconvening from closed session. The time is now 1:24 p.m. and the board will take appropriate action on items if necessary as discussed in closed session. Item 8A.
The recommendation is to approve the resolution of the Board of Trustees of UISD regarding remote-only instruction provided during the start of the school year transition period. And Ms. Andon can elaborate a little bit.
The board is considering the safety and the health of all of our community members. So in line with that, we are asking for the 8-week transition period into face-to-face instruction. And that would take us into October 16th, with the first day of actual school courses actually being offered at a campus on October 19th.
We have a vote, the motion.
So move. So move.
Vote in a
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor, aye.
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 Those opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
And agenda item 8B is to approve a resolution adopting 14-day quarantine period for employees having close contact with COVID-19 positive individuals in accordance with the Family First Coronavirus Response Act.
We have a motion.
So move.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Agenda item 9, adjournment. We have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You said aye. Aye.
At 1:26 p.m. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Take care.